Hello there and welcome to a different video today. A lot of you have been asking some questions in the comments of videos and on live streams, and I thought we'd take the chance to sit down, go through them one by one and cover some very important topics when it comes to buying Lego, collecting Lego, or even just playing with Lego bricks. I want to talk about scale. There's a lot of concerns with next year's sets being quite small and still costing a lot, but some vehicles are just that size in real life, whether they've been made in real life or even if they're just CG in the background of some shows. So I'm going to take you through the steps of how to find out which scale a Lego set is, and this applies to any themes, but of course the focus for today is going to be on Star Wars. The first scale I want to cover is Minifigure Scale, perhaps the most popular scale that is in the Lego Star Wars theme, especially when it comes to mock builders and fan designs ships. Minifigure Scale is the easiest to go with thanks to the references we have from the source material, and also works best with minifigures. Now, a few of you might argue in the comments that 130 is better. 145 is what we prefer here on the channel. That gives each minifigure an average height of about 6 foot, which adds up to the 180 centimeters that does apply according to many censuses here on Earth, which is very location based, but at least here in the UK, 6 foot is near enough to the average compared to the 130 scale, which actually works on minifigure widths and is, well, slightly bigger, consumes a lot more parts. This snowspeeder, for instance, is a recolor of the Force Burner snowspeeder, and it is built to 145 scale. Is it perfect? There's probably a few millimeters off, but it is close enough when working to Lego bricks. You always want to round up to the nearest millimeter either way. But not every Lego set is 145 scale. It completely depends on the designer building the set. Some designers would rather keep to a Lego standard. Maybe there's like a parts count that they have to meet for the sets. Sometimes 145 is just going to be way too big. Imagine trying to build a Star Destroyer at 145. Who would want to do that? If you didn't catch on, that's me. I did say I would build a minifigure scale 1:45 upscaled Star Destroyer. I guess it's not upscaled if it is meant to be the same height. It's still downscaled, but it's upscaled from anything Lego have ever tried to create. As well as 145, there are a few other scales that go a lot bigger, even bigger than 130 scale. This ATST is not to scale with, this isn't going to be in the camera, is it? This ATST is not to scale with the snowspeeder, and actually I'm not sure what it is to scale with because the scale is smaller. A bigger ship will have a smaller scale. This will be like 125, 130, somewhere around there, if not even smaller than that. What the scale means is how many of this ship, how many of the same measurements will it take to make it to scale with the real deal. For 145 scale, 45 of these lined up in a row is the actual length, width and height of a real world snowspeeder. And for bigger Lego sets, that tends to mean less of them will be needed to make up the size. A Star Destroyer at this size is going to be a lot smaller in scale because you'll need thousands of them to make up the real world size. One thing that is for sure when it comes to scale is most people don't mind about the numbers. It's whichever one's bigger. If the AT-AT is bigger than the AT-ST, it doesn't matter how big it is, it looks right because it's bigger in universe. This is a recolor of the gingerbread AT-AT, which I'm still yet to get my hands on. Fingers crossed for double points, I will be able to pick this set up because it went out of stock so quickly, and I would love to pick it up to build later on this year. But at least we've built one version of it already for the Mandalorian. And though the AT-AT is bigger than the 145 snowspeeder, I think it's also still too close to the fact, I mean, you know, I use the term bigger lightly. The snowspeeder feels like it's taking up more space, and it probably actually is. For these three to be scaled in a more playset scale, you'd need the AT-AT to be the biggest, then the AT-ST, and then the snowspeeder to be the smallest. How do you work out this scale, and how do I know the snowspeeder's 145? That is where our tape measure comes in, because to find the scale of any ship, you're going to want to take the length of the ship. This is about 16 centimeters, even with the turret. If we had the speeder folded out, it would be a little longer, but snow speeders don't actually have speeders in the butt. So it's about 16 maybe even just under 16 centimeters with the engines. And then you'd go find the actual size of the speeder in universe. You then want to divide that number by the length of the Lego set. Make sure you're using the same values, don't divide meters by centimeters, and then that gives you your scale of the set, which is way too pedantic. I tend to round it to a more commonly used scale. You're looking at 120, 125, 130, 145, maybe 155, and then I think it's like 168, and the numbers get a bit confusing from there. As long as this number is as close among your entire select display, your ships are going to scale to each other. They don't have to be 145. If everything you build is 160 scale and a bit smaller than 145, especially if you don't need minifigures, you can scale it down, use micro figures, studs, or just skip over the figures and use other action figures that scale to your builds. And it's really nice to see, because we've taken a look over the years at a load of different builds that we have made 145 scale and can compare them. The best example of this I have is the UCS Slave 1 that scales to our 145 Kenobi Starfighter mock. The UCS Slave 1 is 145 scale. So it's really nice seeing them together, because Kenobi's Delta is so tiny compared to the massive UCS set. But that's just the start of minifigure scale. So if you have any other questions, check out all the other videos I have on the channel. And if they still don't answer it, then let me know in the comments. Another thing I've been asked a lot about recently is sig-figs, or signature minifigures, not significant figures, signature minifigures, which are minifigures you can make to represent not just yourself, but really anyone of any significance, which in LEGO standards mean they just have a name. I suppose they don't even have to have a name. They could just be a main character, main nameless character of a story you're creating, but typically sig-figs tend to be about yourself. For instance, here are all 6 of the sig-figs I have for myself. A few of these have been, one of these has been gifted to me, which is this minifigure down here with the spanner. And then we've got this minifigure, which me and my fiance did make sig-figs of ourselves ages ago on the Builder minifigures in LEGO stores. We also both have a CMF that looks like us, though I use that loosely for mine because I've just stolen the Wolfpack gear for my sig-fig, and I don't typically wear Wolfpack armor. Being a Star Wars fan, it also goes without saying that we have a few Star Wars versions. This middle one with the Keep Calm and Build Lego custom torso is just a must for a Lego build-up, but the Star Wars ones are my favorite. We have this Mandalorian one with Din Djarin's hair and Qui-Gon's face, and then this Jedi robes with a few dark red accents. You might have noticed the wall just behind me. I like that colour, and I do have the black robes, which is why I've given them to me, with Cassian's old face with a lighter skin, and the hairpiece belonging to the old Clone Wars Padme minifigure from when I actually had my hair up. It's kind of looking like a mix between the two now, though I have realised that the Kenobi hairpiece would be the perfect headpiece from the Kenobi show. The one used for that Kenobi minifigure would probably be the perfect hairpiece for me right now. I did mention that my fiance has a few sig-figs for herself, so I've built a stand that kind of goes opposite to my one. You can see they tower up quite nicely, a few bricks on the underside, but to build a sig-fig, you really just need to focus on the headpiece. It's one of the hardest things to find, a headpiece that looks like you. It doesn't have to be same skin tone. You can go with the classic Lego yellow face, and then hair pieces are fairly easy to come by. You can always paint up a hairpiece. It's a lot better than trying to paint your own face. And for the torso and legs, you can either find something that looks like something you would wear, be it just a blue torso for a blue top. If you don't wear a lot of designs, then that will be really easy to come by. Or you can dress yourself up in Jedi costumes, Mandalorian costumes. I used to have a Spider-Man sig-fig of me as well, because Spider-Man's my favorite Marvel character. So it doesn't have to be something that you are wearing right now, just something that shines your identity through somehow. If you are switching out arms and legs and end up breaking a piece, that brings us on to the next segment of this video. Over the last year, LEGO have been reprinting and redesigning a few sets here and there. You might have heard of the cockpit change on the ARC 170, or maybe the torso printing update on the Commander Fox minifigure from the gunship. Very expensive Lego Star Wars set. Although comparing it to the Death Star, actually it sounds pretty cheap, pretty affordable. Even if you don't own both of these sets and maybe have a minifigure with cracked legs or have broken some pieces from previous sets, they might be available and you might be able to get them for free. If you Google Lego replacement parts, which is the easiest way to find this, don't go looking on lego.com, Google Lego replacement parts, it will come up with a link to their replacement parts service. I've used this many a time this year, probably got replacement parts for every month we've gone through. And it's here that you can order parts for broken pieces, maybe even misprints that you've got that, though they're valuable, are misprints, so you can always contact Lego for a replacement and then sell your misprint for millions. Use this service, it's a 10 out of 10, and it's one of the reasons why Lego still keeps a little toe in front of all of the other brick competitors. Because I have tried to contact other companies for replacement parts, especially the tiny little bricks that get lost so easily, and half of them don't even have a customer service team. Finally, the last question was regarding retiring soon Lego sets. It's coming up to the end of the year, and Lego are going to be announcing more and more retiring soon sets until the sets eventually retire. And I'm not quite sure when they start announcing sets for next year, but a lot of people don't understand where all these lists are coming from. And a lot of people do have different lists where they're trying to predict what sets are going to retire. You can actually find this out on lego.com. Head straight over there, and in the first tab, you can scroll right down to find retiring soon at the bottom of the screen. I tried to show this off in the last stream, but we couldn't actually scroll down far enough. So sometimes I guess it's hidden. I always recommend bookmarking this tab because Lego use the same one every year, or at least they have done for the last few years. And it's handy to keep around in case one of the sets on your wish list ends up to be retiring soon. Again, all you have to do is head over to lego.com, go in that first tab, I think it's called Shop, scroll down to the Retiring Soon button at the bottom, and be sure to bookmark it. It's very handy to have and saves you scrolling through hours of speculation online. If you want to know when Lego update any of their pages, keep an eye on the number at the top of the screen, because very rarely does Lego retire a set and add the same amount to the list. It will always be fluctuating one way or another, and that's how I tell if anything's changed. Hopefully this video has answered some of your questions. If you have any more, let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll do another one once enough questions stack up. Until then, thank you so much for watching, and may the bricks be with you always.